look at Black women, 90 something percent all voted one way. White women, nope. Uh-uh. And I've had it with these white women that are just enablers to this patriarchal system, but then they act like they're cool boss bitches when they're peddling their multi-level marketing shit. Fuck off. If you're not going to vote for women, then stay at home and be a trad wife. Otherwise, sit down and shut the fuck up and let the real boss bitches take over. It really pisses me off.
White women are a huge disappointment. The overwhelming majority are a huge disappointment.
That's from the horse's mouth. You heard it from them specifically. This is what we have to go through in society as just like Black people in general, is that, you have people that's like that. They would say, oh, we voted a certain way because, we voted for eggs and milk and things. I'm from Kansas. I'm from Missouri. I tell people that all the time. They did not vote for eggs and milk. They voted for racism and misogyny. And what they did was people thought that it was only going to affect those other people. But now, since it's affecting them, like the farmers are not getting these subsidies no more, and these grants are being taken away. And people that I know in like clinical research, for example, NIH is not giving away any money. They're canceling all those things. All of a sudden, now, oh, we made a mistake and everybody needs to come together. And this is something that kind of bothers me because, when I see people do that, like clear example, and what she's telling you is correct. I'll say within the last 5 years, I like to keep everything kind of broad, so that way you can kind of see what's going on. But within the last 5 years, there was a company that I was working with, and they started hiring all these women. And I don't mind who you hire, whatever, as long as they can get the job done. But they didn't hire just anyone. They hired the Karens of Karen, like the grandmother of Karen, like the all-time gods. And these ladies came in, everything was very catty, everything was a complaint. They're so busy trying to prove themselves. And it really changed the way the company runs. And then we really noticed that they started targeting the minorities. It's this lady named Debbie. She just like started with this company. That's her actual name. And she came in and said she don't like contractors and she don't like all these people getting these type of payments and things of that nature. And so what she's been doing is she's been technically lowering all the contractors' hours. And this company is founded on contractors making sure that this company is successful. But she started lowering their hours and lowering things. And so now I mean, there's really no money to go around for the contractors. And we said, okay, well, the company's in the black, and when they say in the black, that means you're good. You make the company's like really good in terms of fun, in terms of money. The other thing that's interesting is that people that's like, for like in research, it's a hard job. I don't care what nobody tell you. It's a very, very hard job. It's a lot of work that goes into it. It's a lot of things that you have to do to be prepared. You're working with people who are getting drugs implanted in them, et cetera. So it's a lot of work. Well, what happened after this is that there's people I know, like other managers, that said that they, you know, came back and they were being lowballed on their offers. And I said, what do you mean? They said she was trying to lowball us like almost by $50,000, $60,000. She said, I'm not doing that. They said, if you want to retain me, you need to pay me what I'm worth. You can't just sit there and do what you feel like you want to do because you're the quote unquote boss now. And then on top of that, the company got bought out by an investment firm. That's another issue that happens. So, you got all these people with financial charts and everything that don't know what they're really doing. So they're trying to tell medical doctors what they should and should not do and how they shouldn't be implementing things. I'm just like, this company's just going downhill. And so I even had like a few altercations back and forth with them because I'm like, you're not going to have me doing all this work, flying across country, doing these things, and then you don't want to pay me. I said, that's not going to happen. And so I tell people, if you're going to work for somebody, work for yourself. Get your own stuff because, like she said, these people, oh, I'm a boss bit. I'll tell you, I'll put this in a ranking and take it how you want to take it. But this is from my experience. Okay, so you can't tell me what I should not be saying. This is from my experience. When it comes down to working with women over men, I prefer working with men. Not only that, I know women that don't like working with other women. especially white women with white women. They do not like working with each other, and they tell us all the things that this lady's pretty much telling us. They tell you pretty much explains all that to us, and it's like, it's this thing about having to prove yourself, and oh, I have to tell you that I'm the boss and I have to show you guys that I mean business. And I'm just like, really? I said, y'all more likely to call the police and let somebody else handle it. Like, y'all, like a boss bitch is not something I consider a lot of white women, especially working with them. Caddy and complaining, absolutely. But a boss, absolutely not. But I would, to get to the chart I was going to tell you about, the chart I would say, out of all the women, if I was to choose the women to work with, I would choose Asian women. Asian women have been the best bosses I've had from any company, from women, hands down. Asian women, depending on where they're from. So let me clarify that. So Asian women, if they're from Singapore, Philippines, Vietnam, Japan, any of those countries right over there, been the best bosses. They want to make sure you come in and do your job. They want to make sure that the thing's going to get done. The Korean and Chinese women is the ones that have the most issues with at work. I don't know what that is about. It's this trying to, especially the Koreans, it's this thing of porcelain skin trying to attain to whiteness. Everybody want to be white, super white. They bring that attitude to work, and then they also, like, I see them talk down to a lot of minorities, especially black people. And I'm like, the black people is the one that taught you how to do this job in the first place. And you just came to this company. We teach you, and all of a sudden you trying to tell us what we need to be doing. It's just the attitudes that I've seen from just blacks in general with Koreans is the reason why we have like a lot of issues with them. But when it comes to the best female bosses, definitely Asian women, hands down. I would say second would be, if you play your cards right, Indian women from India. You have to be very careful with them. They can be really, really good bosses, but if anything goes wrong, or I don't care if they told you to do something, it backfired. I don't care if they weren't involved in something or whatever happens. If they tell you to do anything and it backfires, they are going to cover their ass and they're going to, oh, he did this, she did this. I have seen it. And it becomes kind of very two-faced sometimes. So that's why I tell people, like, when you work with Indian women, you got to make sure you have all your documents, all your conversations, save everything, because that's happened to me twice. They real cool with you until something goes wrong. And then when something goes wrong, especially when you had no fault of it, but they're like, somebody got to take the blame. I have experienced that with them. So they can be very cool bosses if you utilize, the resource correctly, but at the end of the day, they can be kind of difficult to work with if things don't go correctly. And I've had a lot of situations like that happen. I would say probably third. This is a tough one because you only have Latin, you have black and white. I would say third. Ooh, man. I would say probably third would probably be Latin. I'll say Latin. Actually, I would move the Latin to second place and move the Indians to third. I'll tell you why. So if you work with the right Latin, so it's two different types of Latin women you can work with. You can work with Latin women that are proud of who they are. They're from Mexico or Spain or Portugal, whatever, and they're proud of their heritage. They know who they are. They know they're Latin descendant. Um, then you have the other ones that I don't care where they're from, Guatemala, Mexico, El Salvador, Argentina. Oh, I'm a white Latino. I'm a white Latino. These people don't love who they are. They self-hating. And so they come to these jobs with this white, wanted to be associated with white. I want to be white, white so bad. And so they come to work trying to overly prove themselves. And they also come to work trying to distance themselves from other Latins. And it usually becomes a problem at work. I've seen this happen so many times when they do that. And I'm just like, was it really necessary for you to say, oh, I'm not this type of Latin or I'm not this type of Hispanic? I said, me being from Kansas and know how growing up with white folks who helped raise me, They don't care if you from Portugal, Spain, Argentina, Colombia, El Salvador, Guatemala. Everybody's from south of the border and everybody's Mexican. They don't care if you have Aguilera, Lopez, Cia, in any of those Spanish sounding names, Gonzalez, all of them, you're from south of the border. That's how they see it. So, but I've worked with them. They have been they could be really chill and really cool bosses if you get with the right ones. But if you work with the ones that they want to attain to be white, or they come in with that I hate to say it, it's like this pretty princess type attitude. They always got to be overly made up. I've always had issues with them. I've seen people have issues with them as well, and they usually be the most toxic at work. So I would say the Latin women is number two, and then I would say that the Indian women will be number three. I would say fourth would be Black women. The reason why Black women are so low on this list, and these are the main lists, this is just the main big categories, these five categories. I would say Black women on the list because most of the Black women I've worked with at work had this attitude. I got to prove myself. I got to show you who I am. I got to tell you who I am. And so when I work with them, it's always this it's just unnecessary attitude for no reason. It's always this, oh, I heard this, or, and they're so busy trying to be like if you ever seen Beauty in Black, the girl, the main character who works with the family who's married to one of the guys there. That's how a lot of Black women act at work, and I'm just like, it's just not. It's so unprofessional. Another one is Insecure. If you see Insecure and you ever seen Molly is how I am at work. And there was an episode, I think this is in season one. Molly was, and you've got to watch this episode because it is so true. You have the girls that can either act like the woman in Beauty in Black, or you get the very ghetto Bunquisha girl who Molly was trying to help at work. And there was this girl, she was, I did this and yeah, and she's loud and ghetto, and it was a lot going on to it. And so what ended up happening is that one of the managers, a white lady, came to her because she was the only black woman there, and she came to Molly. She said, "Hey, Molly, would you mind speaking to her about her professionalism or whatever?" Because I'm telling you, working in a corporate environment like that, where you're working with white people with money, it's going to rub some of them the wrong way, and they're going to like, "Oh, she's too loud and ghetto." Molly tried to help her. And the Black girl was like, well, the white folks didn't have no problem hiring me. And, she started smacking her and rolling her eyes with the hoop earrings. They didn't have a problem working with me, and they didn't have a problem saying anything about it. And my last job didn't have a problem saying anything about it. Sure enough, that white woman came to Molly. Hey, Molly, can you speak to her? Molly came back and was like, I don't feel like it's appropriate for me to say something because there was just not that long ago that I was a junior partner as well. And I feel it'll be more appropriate for somebody on the management team to say something to her instead of me, because Molly already spoke to her about this. Sure enough, the white management team sat her down and let her go. I said, and that's what I haven't met a lot of cool Black women at work. I hate to say it. The ones that I work like alongside each other, I get along with. I don't know what that is. I get along with them, but when they're in that managerial role, it's something about their attitude that just switches and changes. And that's why when it comes to a lot of men and other women, I know a lot of women that don't like having women in leadership positions, and I can see why, especially when it comes to the Black and the last on the list, the white women. White women. I don't know what it is about them at work. People just want to do their job. They do not want to sit here and argue with you about everything. They don't want to have to sit here and be in meetings with you all day. They don't care what Abigail did. We don't care what Elizabeth did. We don't care what Betty Sue did. We just don't care. But it's like, and I would say I probably get along with probably 10% of them. And that's a very low number. And if I get along with you, that means I really rock with you because you're for real down white girl. But those other ones, all that Karen attitude and complaining and stuff. And I'll tell you, there's different factions of this. So when you're at work, there's different categories. You have, so Karen's outside of work. I'll put it that way. So Karen's the one to call the police. They always in somebody's business. They always have some drama or issue to do with a minority. And then when they give them the business, then they want to complain like they're the victim. You know how that goes. We see the Instagram videos, we see the YouTube videos. We're not going to go there. The thing that gets me is that when you're at work, you have Kathy. So you have Kathy. I would say you have Madeline and you have Paulette. We'll put it that way. Kathy is the worker, so she usually works with you or work as a secretary or something like that. Madeline usually works in HR, and then you have Paulette, who's like a manager. The Kathys I have worked with, either come to work late, leave early, complain about everything, going back to the managers, telling people stuff that doesn't exist, making up stories, everything's always a problem. Somebody didn't do their job because she ended up getting caught and didn't do hers. So what she does, she tells on everybody else, and then everybody's scrambling around to see what she's talking about because everybody else's assignments on time. Working with those Kathy type women, white women at work, has been a problem. It makes you that. That's why they say, "Oh, you want to go to the office?" No, I don't want to work with. No, hi and bye. We could remote. It's bad enough that I go to the sites and work with the sites, which I'm fine with because I don't have to see them every day. You know, I see them once every, 6 weeks or 9 weeks or however long. So I don't have to see them all the time. So I can deal with that. You don't like me, whatever. I'm only here for 3 days. Goodbye. See you in 6 months. But working with somebody every day and having to deal with that catty, chatty stuff, that's not for me. It's unproductive. It's unproductive to the rest of the team. Let that go. The other thing is when you're working with Madeline. Madeline works in HR. Madeline can be cool, but no, it's not Madeline. It's Christina. So Christina, I'll put her in HR as well. You get you some Christinas. You get you some Christina white women that's cool. They're gonna tell you, hey, you know what's the name? They about to come to you about this issue. Oh, you know they about to say they do exist. You got to get you some people in HR, especially some of those white girls like Christina. They're gonna help you out. Madeline is not here to help you out. Madeline's gonna have you tell her this whole drawn out story of how she's here to help you and everything. And we all know HR is not there for you, they're there for the company. But she's going to tell you a whole story to make you believe it. You're going to sit there and be like, oh, I spoke to Madeline about this and Madeline about that. I told a few black people at work a while back, yeah, I better quit talking to Madeline. You better quit talking to her because I said she's going back and she's telling your managers everything that you said. She's going back and telling the senior VPs everything you said. And they're just waiting for a reason to let you go. Sure enough, Madeline, they sitting there trying to be friends with Madeline, thinking that Madeline is Christina. I said, they're two different people. I said, two different white girls. You got Madeline over here and Christina over here. You need to separate them. Sure enough, Madeline goes tell them, senior VPs come, oh, when we heard and we seen these things were happening and, looking through all these time cards and assignments and stuff, let them go. Don't trust Madeline. The last one is Paulette. Paulette Paulette is the one that is like Debbie that I spoke about. I always got to prove herself. She's the leader. She's the boss. She got to be a tough white girl. She got to be so tough. And I'm just like, white women, no, y'all. If it comes to tough women, it won't be white women at the top of the list. It'll be the women that I think can really throw down in a real fight. And that'll be like Asian women, Black and Latin women. I've seen them throw down, but Indian women and white, no. Y'all more likely to call the police. Y'all more likely to, complain or get men to fight y'all battles, especially against another woman. I've seen it too many times. I grew up in the houses. Get upset all you want. That's the facts. Okay, that's what I've seen. So you got to be careful with Paulettes. Paulettes is those ones that, it's micromanaging. They always got something to say about your work. And and a lot of them, when you start looking at a lot of those people's profiles on LinkedIn, this is how you kind of tell about people. LinkedIn really showed me like who really worked hard. And when I see some of these white women get up, I said, how did she jump from a secretary to a senior VP position? I mean, it's just mind-boggling. I said that doesn't make any sense to me. And I see a lot of that happens. And we have this whole thing with DEI going on. I'm like, I said it's white women that benefited from it. And as you see, if you can jump from a senior a secretary to a senior VP, I mean, that's the epitome of DEI. I mean, you jump from a $80,000 maybe max salary a year to almost $200,000 to $300,000 a year senior VP, and you didn't have no experience in that department. I've seen it happen all the time. So when it comes to like stuff like that, she is right. Like dealing with like white women, is I don't know why they make it so difficult to work. I don't know why people at work make it so difficult to work anyways. Go there, do the job, go home and be done with it. We don't need all the extra. We don't need, I don't want to hear about Abigail. I don't care about Betty Sue's cat. I just don't care. I really don't care. It's not helping me get the job done. It's not helping me pay my bills. It's not going to give me a raise. I don't care about any of that stuff. And that's why I love what I do, because I don't have to be in the office dealing with people all day. I would get annoyed dealing and seeing them all day. When it's going to meet like different sites and everything, that's what I love doing. But being in the office all day with people is a huge red flag. But you know what? Don't listen to me. We about to go to the comments and see what you think about the comments. And so let's go here. So this real deal Hughley posted. He said, "Yo, LOL." And then Loom Love Man God's dope. I'm gonna butcher names, so whatever. It's some shit when white people are sick of white people shit. Didn't I just tell you that? Didn't I just tell you that? I know why. I know women. This is why I know women that didn't even want to work with other women before. When I tell you, I've seen white women that don't like working with other white women. I mean, I still hear to this day, it's a huge complaint of like, why they're working with them and stuff. I understand why. They don't want to work with you. It's too much drama. So that's one of those things. Unapologetically underscore Kim, their podcast is really good. These white women really get it. It's just stuff like this. Um, as a white woman, I approve of this message. I mean, don't get mad at me. Here's the information for you. It's Brianna famous. I love them. They keep it 100. Ron Brown, everybody else just posting pictures, whatever. Burke Melrose, I love this podcast. When they talk about JD Vance eyeliner and Moses Mike Johnson's needing to come out of the closet, I absolutely love it. I haven't watched their podcast, so I don't know what they said. Uh, NTLGNT1, a white woman didn't even support Hillary. I just told y'all that. I just said they don't vote for her. They rather have a man in that position, and I can see why. They couldn't even see a woman that resembles them as representation. Let that sink in. All of Christiana, the truth is sometimes difficult to hear, but must be said. The bold, pointy, these women have been so entertaining lately, and they really give me hope. And then what else? We'll read a few comments. Actually, these comments here are pretty good. These comments are really, really good. Oh, honey, they know what's what. This was for Silena Johnson. So yeah, they got some good comments here, but this is what I have to say. Stuff like it keeps you talking about things and it keep people, at least engaging to tell people what they really are. That's why at work I don't fool with a lot of white women at work. I just don't. And, I don't fool with a lot of people at work in general, but when it comes to like stuff like this, and this is coming from white women, they're telling you this stuff. You better heed their warning. And just to talk about the demographics, they kind of hit on these a little bit. I want to put these here. But if you look at this, white women was 53, 45%. There's a confusion error there with this 45%. Why are y'all so confused? I mean, you have a man that does not value you. He don't value women. He talks about grabbing by the pussy. I mean, I am still lost on how 45% still voted for this man. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but I told you it's the same at work. They will smile on your face like, oh, I'm so inclusive and I believe in women. And they really don't. They really don't. And I can see why when it comes to women, because when it comes to white women, y'all make everything at work hard, and it shouldn't have to be that way. We should not have to go through all this. And then white men, they sort of knew to their assignment because I knew they were going to vote 60%. But can't nobody say nothing about black people. I mean, black men, black women. I mean, y'all can't say nothing about us. I mean, we were over 70%. And we knew the assignment. Everybody else in these other categories were confused. So we're just going to let that sink in. But yeah, this is all that I have for today's episode. Please like, share, subscribe, and we will see you next time.